Let me take you guys back to 2013. I just graduated from high school and I was working my first full-time job at a movie theater. The hours were ass and I was getting paid minimum wage, and since I lived in Marin County, every restaurant I wanted to go to was pretty much closed. What I pretty much would do instead is go to 7-Eleven, where I would stock up on pizza, snacks, and some wings, and then I'd also get a couple of beers there because the dude there never checked my ID. I would occasionally do this with a bunch of friends as well, and our routine was to basically stock up on snacks and then head back to my room where we would hang out, play some PlayStation 3, or watch a really shitty movie on Netflix or Amazon Prime until all of us just passed out. One night while doing our usual routine, I happened to be looking at 7-Eleven's bargain DVDs. It was there I came across the strangest cover I'd ever seen. The Evil Bong. While the premise alone was enough to seduce my curiosity, my jaw dropped when I picked up the case and saw another movie behind it titled The Ginger Dead Man versus The Evil Bong. It was that night that I was introduced to the bizarre world that is Full Moon Features. From that moment on, I would start collecting whatever Full Moon Features I could find, whether it be at that same 7-Eleven, Amazon, Walmart, or Amoeba. And yes, I know that's a music store, but they also sell movies as well. Through this, I was introduced to movies like Doll Man, Killjoy, Head of the Family, and many more. It was also how I found out that Trancers actually had 5 sequels. Before that moment, I had known about Trancers, but I had always thought it was just one movie that never, really had a sequel or anything like that. Same with the Puppet Master series. I had definitely seen the first 2 Puppet Masters before I'd been introduced to Full Moon Features, but I had no idea it had 10 sequels at the time. I mean, now that number's gone up to, I believe, 13 sequels or something like that. Another really fun thing that I loved about the first Evil Bong movie that I bought is that the DVD came with a bonus feature of William Shatner interviewing Stan Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know who Stan Lee is, well, this video should clarify a few things.
When a couple of guys are angry at each other, and they're yelling and they're arguing, sooner or later, one of them is going to say, F you. Why is F you considered an insult? It's the most exotic, exquisite experience you can have. If somebody says F you to me, I feel like saying, thank you. Thank you for wishing such a wonderful thing to me.
That, my friends, was the legendary Stan Lee, may he rest in peace. Over time, though, my enjoyment of the Full Moon catalog started to die down, and for the longest time, I had never actually finished what I had started. With most franchises I had started, like Trancers and Puppet Masters, I never really bothered to watch past the second or third film of their series. Even with Evil Bong, I felt like the joke got old after the first film, so watching Evil Bong 2 and 3 honestly kind of felt more like a chore for me. I guess it didn't help that I wasn't a stoner at the time, so maybe if I had been, my opinion of Evil Bong could have been drastically different. I never even got around to watching Ginger Dead Man versus the Evil Bong. Or at least, I never had gotten around to it until 2020. Classes are now online, and like most Americans, I'm jobless and looking for a way to pass the time. One day while browsing Facebook, I come across an ad for an upcoming Full Moon feature called Corona Zombies. Much like the Evil Bong, the premise alone got my attention, and after clicking the ad, I discovered Full Moon actually had their own streaming service. Since I was looking for anything to really pass the time while we waited for COVID to finally come to an end, God, it's been over a year and it still hasn't come to an end. I bought a year subscription, and yes, Corona Zombies was terrible. In fact, it's probably worse than you think it is. Basically, I would recommend just watching Hell of the Living Dead or Zombie vs. Strippers, because both of those movies are actually 10 times funnier than Corona Zombie, and 90% of Corona Zombie is just stock footage from those 2 movies but redubbed. Nevertheless, there were plenty of other entertaining films you could watch on the website, and once COVID restrictions started to become a little more flexible, they eventually started producing more films, including this recent movie which I'm about to review for you today. In celebration of 420, I'm going to be reviewing The Gingerweed Man. The Gingerweed Man is directed by Brooks David and is a spin-off of the Evil Bong and Ginger Dead Man series. The Gingerweed Man stars, that's odd. There's no actor listed in the credits. Guess I'll check the IMDb page, and here he's still not listed. Okay, according to the movie, Gingerweed is played by himself. Sure, let's roll with that. No pun intended. For backstory, Gingerweed was created during the events of Evil Bong 666, where Rabbit from the Transfer series used the DNA of Ginger Dead Man along with the weed from the Evil Bong to bring him to life. Also, those who were hoping for closure from the events of Evil Bong 777's cliffhanger ending, don't get your hopes up. This movie basically glosses over that franchise and really treats itself like a standalone. As long as it means we don't have to deal with Luann pretending to be Batty Boop from the Killjoy series, I'm not complaining. You know, I'm actually really excited. This is going to be my first time watching one of these movies as an actual stoner. Ah yes, thanks for the reminder. Shit, that's probably going to take a minute to kick in. So our film begins with a scientist doing experiments on a green testicle. Yes, I know it's supposed to be a nugget of weed, but come on. You look me in the eye and tell me that that doesn't look like a testicle. There's a strange charm when it comes to the creativity Full Moon has to use when it comes to their cheap set designs. Before our scientist can finish his work, he's attacked by an assassin named Smokahontas. Okay, who am I kidding? That's kind of funny. She attacks the scientist, and even though it looks like she missed, there's a drop of blood outside the building, indicating that she got him, I guess. That morning, we're introduced to Gingerweed, or as his roommate Barbara calls him, Gingy. I'm gonna call him that for the rest of the review. Does that work for you guys? Oh, that's right, I don't care. Barbara and Gingy run a weed delivery business, but Barbara isn't happy with Gingy's consistent partying and the fact that he seems to constantly smoke all of their product. I gotta say, there's something about Gingy's laid-back voice that I just find extremely entertaining, even though his mouth movement is annoyingly cheap.
Gingerweed Dispensary Delivery Services Inc. is getting stronger every day. The numbers don't lie.
We then get a montage of Gingy delivering weed, followed by a bizarre sex scene consisting of Gingy and a couple of old swingers. One of those swingers being an old man who uses binoculars to watch as Gingy fucks his wife. I gotta admit something, for at least 90% of this film, we consistently see Gingy with the same facial expression due to the prop being decently cheap. However, every once in a while they will replace the prop with a version that shows his face expressing shock, and because those moments are so far and few in between, I end up laughing every time it happens. The rest of the scene, however, is very cringe. Unless you're into that, which in that case, no judgment here. Eventually, the dying scientist catches up with Gingy and, wait a minute. He got shot the previous night, and in his dying moments, this scientist entrusts this important specimen to Gingy, despite the fact that Gingy is constantly proving to the scientist that he's probably the least qualified person to take care of it. Hell, I'm honestly kind of surprised the movie doesn't end with Gingy smoking it. Also, this dude had all night to either find a good place to hide or find someone more qualified, but nope. He chose to wait until the last minute so he could ask some strange weed cookie to protect his work. Also, why does no one react weird to the talking weed cookie? I mean, everyone in this movie treats him like a normal person. Perhaps this movie takes place in a world without discrimination, but that can't be. It's a spin-off of the Evil Bong franchise, which is Hambo make a couple of guest appearances, and he's from a movie called Ooga Booga, a movie where a black medical student gets shot by a racist cop, so we know discrimination exists in this world. Unless Killjoy was another character that briefly crossed over with Evil Bong, and his last movie ended with him and his friends traveling to a parallel world. Perhaps this world he travels to is a utopia that this movie happens to take place in. This movie was never part of the Evil Bong series, it's always been part of the Killjoy series, specifically a part of the series after Killjoy ends, and it takes place on that parallel world that we see from the very last Killjoy movie. And wow, I think that edible is starting to finally kick in. So Smokahontas kills Gingy's supplier, and the nugget of weed comes to life, ending part 1. Part 2 takes place the following evening. Barbara isn't happy Gingy brought home an annoying talking nugget of weed, whereas Gingy seems completely unfazed by the whole situation. Probably because Gingy feels a connection with the weed nugget due to his similar backstories of being made as sentient weed creatures. Hell, it's possible that Gingy sees a bit of himself in the little guy and wants to be that good father figure that he never had growing up, and I am way too high to be reviewing this movie right now. Also, the little weed nugget's name is Buddy because fuck subtlety. The effects for Buddy are purposefully bad, and you can constantly see the strings being used to pull him around. He also goes toe-to-toe with Navi in the most annoying side character category. Also, dear God, the lighting in this scene is annoyingly inconsistent. Smokahontas arrives and kidnaps Barbara and Buddy. Unaware of their kidnapping, Gingy decides to smoke some weed in order to pass the time. I'm sorry. Those rare moments where his facial expression changes gets me every time. Gingy then gets a vision of the goddess of weed heaven, and she tells him that Buddy and Barbara have been captured, and it's up to Gingy to save them. Man, I wish the goddess of weed heaven could give me some guidance every once in a while. So Gingy, with the help of his incredibly racially offensive sidekick Ooga Booga, does some research and finds that Barbara and Buddy are being auctioned off to a group of drug lords, but not before we get a bunch of overused masturbation jokes.
I say, this is no time to dilly your dally. Oh, you're here to hack it, not whack it.
God damn it, that fucking face. So Gingy and Ooga Booga disguise themselves as kingpins in order to infiltrate the auction, and
Well done, old chum. We've blended right in. No one suspects a thing.
I absolutely love that it's implied that the other drug lords hear them, but they clearly just don't give a fuck. The main villain catches on and sees through Gingy's disguise, but luckily, Ooga Booga is able to take down the other drug lords with ease. Barbara goes after the main villain to rescue Buddy, leaving Gingy with Smokahontas. How does a 1-foot-tall weed cookie take down a deadly assassin like Smokahontas, you may ask? With the power of lowbrow humor. Now, I'll admit, a fart joke now and then can be funny when done right. Hell, the fart jokes in Master of Disguise are debatably the only funny parts in the entire movie. And how could we possibly forget the funniest moment in anime history from Prison School? The way they use the fart joke in that series is a fucking masterpiece, okay? So I don't necessarily hate fart jokes by themselves. I'm just saying that these fart jokes have somewhat of a setup. And in Prison School's case, it has a setup and an amazing punchline. This, however, is just not funny. It's dumb. If you're going to use fart in your movie, do it respectfully with a setup and punchline. Anyways, Barbara rescues Buddy and they all head back home knowing that a new venture awaits them. Also, Buddy learns a new word.
Oh, that's my boy.
And I won't spoil it for those of you who might be interested in watching this movie and are fans of the previous films within this franchise, but there is a cool twist ending leading to the idea that there might be a sequel coming up in the future. Gingerweed Man is basically what you would expect from a full moon picture. Some of the jokes land, although most of them don't, if I'm being honest. Hell, even when watching this movie stoned, I believe I could count the amount of times I laughed on one hand. That said, thankfully with this being 2 short films instead of 1 full-length feature, the jokes don't drag and I was never bored watching this. If you're not a fan of the Evil Bong or Ginger Dead Man movies, this isn't exactly gonna change your mind. However, if you are a fan, then this movie is right up your alley. Also, if you've never seen a full moon feature film, this might actually be a good starting point for you if you think you might be getting interested in them. But overall, the movie is harmless and it wasn't a painful watch for me at all. I did kind of find myself enjoying it more than not. But honestly, when it comes to full moon features...
Now, I know that the movies we make here aren't considered art or mainstream. But for me, it's a passion. And for the select crowd that wants something different, I got them lining up around the block. Love him or hate him, you always know at my studio you're in store for something that you just can't see at any regular old movie house.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So guys, what did you think about the Gingerweed Man? Have you guys even heard of this movie? Have you watched it? Definitely let me know in the comments below. I actually did have a good time reviewing this movie. I actually think I enjoyed reviewing it more than I did watching it. So who knows? I might actually start reviewing more full moon features on this channel, because I do get some weird sick pleasure in watching these movies. I don't know why. I don't know. I kind of want to do more of these type of videos though in the future. So if you guys think you would be interested in watching more of my reviews, definitely let me know in the comments below, and I would be more than happy to tackle more full moon features in the future. Bye!